down, and you and I. So that's the complaint, is he jumped on a nullified thing,
and now
that he should have had more sense or some guidance in, supervision saying, look man, okay, that's a bad idea, because maybe Dale will tell you today, but I didn't. I played along with him, I recorded everything on the video, and I had the video, but you know what? I'll tell you, man, I get so mad sometimes at myself for recording this, for having to have this contempt. I contempt this system because I don't trust the system. You don't trust your humanness, but I do trust the way the world should be, right? Okay, the truth. Doesn't matter what your truth is the same as mine. We want to know how peace is achieved, right? So I recorded him, and I got mad that I recorded him because he's such a young, inexperienced officer, didn't want to really do it. I downloaded the Facebook, I sent it to the RCMP F Division, somebody there. They got the video. So that's all I need to say is I was nice to him. And he still tried to hook me into something. You could see he was grasping. And at the end, when the radio says that there's a high-speed pursuit, that guy probably drunk. His inhibitions are low. It's 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night. Yeah, and by the way, he drove all that way, wasted all that time. Could have done something. Like, I mean, there's lots of people that can afford to drive around. I can't. I can't afford booze. I wouldn't even drink booze because I learned my lesson as a young person. Experience. This young person.
That's the
good
best
quality.
teacher.
Good quality person. I'm telling you. Otherwise, he wouldn't be an RCMP person or member. You know. So I have utmost respect. But there are certain things that maybe there is a protocol now, should be, that there is a senior officer, at least 5 to 6 years experience, ride with the junior officers.
And we do have that for 6 months. We have it for 6 months.
You see, but how long does it take you to realize what you did wrong last time? 6 months? Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I hear you.
Sometimes we make a mistake. It takes us longer than 6 months to realize, and we
100%.
make 2 mistakes of the same mistake in 6 months. That's trouble.
And I know,
and especially when you carry the authority that you should, and the amount of respect that a person will. I will let you have all my rights, and a citizen will do this for an officer. They will respect the authority so well that you will have all my rights and carry my rights, and I will rely on you to uphold this rights that I have as a Canadian citizen. But if you slough it by any degree, you should not be that person that's carrying someone else's rights. It's like no matter what it is, whether it's you come from a higher economic background and you look at another person, you do carry a book of learning, even at a young age. You realize these things as you're growing up. You start in your mind logging these things. It's okay, I will treat this person like this if I see this kind of these things. Oh, and my parents told me, but the RCMP has to reschool these people so that they can eliminate the hatred, they can eliminate bigotry, racism, they can eliminate socioeconomic differences, they can eliminate political differences. We have, what a huge, and Canadians still talk about it, turban officers. Even some other probably worse misogyny. Female officers in leadership roles?
well,
it's not about adopting the times. It's about going to what common sense people deserve to be respected equally.
Absolutely.
And treated as equal-minded.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more.
You know, and so that's what his issue was, is that he decided somehow, or someone decided for him. And the waste of time. Like if that guy would have crashed his car now, and he's sitting there, I can't. You should have been on the highway, driving down the highway, because he was already on the highway. You could have been 15 minutes closer to wherever that guy was speeding. Maybe you saw the guy flying by, because he could have been parked by a railroad crossing. You see the reflection of a railroad crossing, but you don't see the RCMP vehicle. Or you think it's a construction vehicle. You go wailing by, boom, get him. Because they're drinking. I walked down the highway, 8 cans out of 10. You know, the percentage as you get more, maybe 82 to 90%, 86% of the cans are what? Alcohol beverage cans. It's not Coca-Cola, it's not water. water is a huge thing, but I mean the alcohol cans that you see out there. You walk 1 kilometer.
And the large percentage, like I said, 86. Yeah.
I'm telling you, because you don't do it, and people don't realize what's on the highway and what they're doing, because they're only one person having 1 beverage or 2 beverages. There's the other guy that had 3, and I'll tell you, I can go to Sedley, and do you know what they had on their gas pumps? Advertising for alcohol. I think that's illegal on top of it all, but I made a video of it. I said, now, I drive up, I'm thirsty, I'm a construction worker, it's hot on the road and it's dusty, it's 40 degrees. I go to put gas in and I'm like, my boss doesn't know that they're on sale today. And you can't relate an alcoholic beverage to an auto. You can't advertise like that. I don't think you can. SGI would not be impressed.
They probably wouldn't be.
Gas companies, you're selling our gas to these guys that are drinking and driving? Bad idea. You know, Petrocan maybe, whatever the name is. But it's not Petrocan. It was not Petrocan. It was an independent dealer with a no-name brand in a small town. But they're selling cold beer as well as gas.
If I can
advertising on the pump.
If I can ask you this, what can I do, like with John? Now, would it help if I sat down with John and like you said,
well,
go over the noise bylaw with him?
I think he's well aware of the noise bylaw now. But is he well aware of what he should do? It's his responsibilities towards other citizens, all citizens.
Because certainly I
as individuals,
my
not
role,
as a...
Yeah, my role as being the one that oversees the entire detachment is in times
I don't
like
know.
What in times like this, a lot of times they do need some operational guidance.
Yeah, see,
and I'll sit down with them.
So the RCMP made there was a huge report just released a couple of years ago or a year ago on the operational guidance procedures and what should be done. There you go. There's your textbook, and I think those are fairly accurate. Everything that I know about that report is fairly accurate. So, you know, there's a start.
So do you think that would be the...
There's a start for you to start thinking about what, because you know what? The more people that investigate these complaints, that really get together and start thinking about what we need to do as a force so that individuals don't disgrace the multitudes of fine officers and respected officers that deserve grades for their actions and not denigration from a few bad or inexperienced, I should say. Not bad, because everyone comes with good intentions. So they're good officers.
That's the thing.
They're good officers with inexperience or lack of training.
And that's the big thing, because again,
or we
especially
assume,
a lot of these young guys that
we assume sometimes about people that they will be like this, and then when we realize, but it's too late. People are in the back of cars being handcuffed, and it's too late just because they just suddenly just didn't agree or disagreed slightly, and there was an aggressive action on behalf of the officer because he has usurped his skill level of self-restraint for another thing. Now, if I would have said something to him, I know that because I can sense it in his psychological profile that he will probably and react negatively. You know, you can't flinch. You have to be. And I think he would flinch if he goes to a nullified complaint. I think he would flinch. I don't think he should.
You might not be wrong.
Well, yeah, because I study social psychology and theories of personalities. So, as well as Western political science. You know, I'm like, and try to read. Yeah. But it's hard to read because you can't concentrate for this kind of BS. These are trivial, petty things I want out of my life. So if I'm driving down the road and an officer sees my car and says, well, I'm going to check that for registration. The registration's failed. It's expired. I pull the guy over, and he says, I've got a permit, but I don't have the permit paper with me. I don't even have, as a matter of fact, my driver's license with me. I'm so sorry. Darn it. And the officer says, oh, okay, what's your name? And the guy says his name. And he gives the officer his PIC number because he happens to know all the numbers. Gives the PIC number. And the officer comes back and says, you know, you bought that permit at 9 a.m. this morning, so it's a brand new permit. So yeah, and you forgot your papers at where? At another location in your driver's license? All your ID? You don't even have your hospital? No, I don't. Well, I checked, the permit's valid. You look like that person that's described on your driver's license. So
Mhm.
goodbye.
Mhm.
1:30 in the morning. And the guy drives away. But the next day, I drive down the street, or this person drives down the street, like this happened to me.
Mhm.
Drive down the street, and another officer that knows me,
Mhm.
knows full well, and has done these things very many times to me, drives up to, okay, so that morning, John Sims comes, drives by my house about 5 times in his personal vehicle, drives back and forth. I drove out of my yard. John Sims is sitting down the street at the stop sign here, and Melissa Jones drives up and stops too. I'm like, what? Because John Sims has driven by and drawn attention to himself so many times. And he stops, and they're both sitting there talking to each other on the side on the road, you know, in their vehicles, personal vehicles. And then, so okay, so I became aware of that. So I drove down the road, and I went, what the heck, eh? So I drove back into my property, and I parked again. And I went down to the restaurant. It actually had a hot beef sandwich, French fries. I played the VLTs for a little while. So it's about an hour and a half later, I come back, and I'm walking down the street, and I see an RCMP vehicle, Shelton Preston, in my yard. And I'm like, what is he doing in my yard? Because he's harassed me so many times before in the same manner. And I'm thinking, man, what's he doing in my yard? Okay. So I notice Alan is watering his lawn here. I come over and I say, Alan, come down here. Let's see what this guy's doing in my yard. And I go up there, and he says, the officer, Sheldon Preston, says, do you have a permit for your motorcycle? I checked your plates.